So my study was on the effects of teaching functional communication on reducing flopping behavior. So flopping is defined as when a person drops their body to the floor when not instructed to do so, which may be associated with whining, crying, or yelling. Exceptions to this behavior include engaging in activities in which flopping is expected, such as exercising, playing on the floor, going down a slide, accidentally falling, following instructions to sit on the floor, etc. My subject for this study was a 6-year-old girl named Gail, diagnosed with autism, who attends an ABA clinic for 40 hours a week. Prior to this study, an FBA was conducted on the behavior of flopping, and the function of the behavior was determined to be a social negative reinforcement in the form of escape and avoidance. The challenging behavior of flopping interferes with Gail's ability to engage in learning activities, transition between preferred and non-preferred activities, and participate in social outings, as well as her ability to participate in activities that same-age neurotypical children are able to engage in. The rationale of my study was that teaching functional communication is important because it gives learners with autism the skills to state their wants and needs without engaging in those challenging behaviors. So if a child is upset, they will be able to state, possibly why they're upset or what it is that they want that may be causing them to be upset. So my research question for this study was, does teaching functional communication lead to a decrease in flopping behavior? So my design for this study was a multiple baseline across contexts or settings. Those 3 settings are going to be group instruction time, an indoor gym in which Gail frequently plays in, as well as Gail's DTT room. The independent variable in my study is the prompting of functional communication, while the dependent variable is the flopping behavior. Data is going to be collected during each instance of the behavior whenever the behavior occurs in one of the 3 settings I previously mentioned. An event frequency data sheet was used. That sheet was broken down into 30-minute blocks throughout the clinical day from 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, with a box for each 30-minute block. A tally mark was made in the box, and the setting was recorded as well in order to determine where that flopping behavior took place. During baseline, the behavior was addressed by prompting Gail to stand up using verbal prompts, such as telling Gail to stand up, combined with a gestural prompt, such as extending a hand out to Gail for her to use to assist in standing. Then once that was done, basically the demand would be kept in place. And we would use a first this, then this sort of contingency in order to prompt Gail to follow through with demands being placed. During the intervention stage, we began to immediately, when that flopping behavior occurred, to prompt Gail to demand for a break or for more time, depending on the context. So if she were in group or doing DTT, we would be prompting her to ask for a break. Whereas when we're in the gym and that time has ended for her to leave the gym, we were prompting her to ask for more time. With DCT and group instructions, when that break request was granted, basically we used a timer on an iPad in order to give her a 2-minute break away from demands, allowing her to engage in something different. We tried not to use anything that was too reinforcing, but something that she liked, not something that she loved, as best as we could. Once that 2 minutes was up, we would represent the demand and follow through until she was able to comply independently. If she wasn't complying independently, if she flopped again, then we would prompt that break again until she was able to do so independently, get up and participate. As for the more time in gym, kind of the same thing. Once a timer was set, once that timer went off, if she followed through independently, that was it, we moved on. If she flopped again, or if she asked for more time, we were going to honor that. Basically, the goal that we had was we wanted Gail to, instead of engaging in that flopping behavior, to use her words to ask for what she wanted. If she wanted to stay in the gym, all she had to do was ask. If she wanted to take a break, all she had to do was ask. So that was our goal, was to just avoid that flopping behavior. And even if we were avoiding the demand that we placed by asking for more time, that was better for us in our minds than having her flop on the floor. Speaking of us, I used I was in a team of RBTs that were all trained on the procedure as well, just because I was not able to be with Gail for that entire 40-minute time, or 40-hour week for her. So looking at the results of the study, we can see that, well, during baseline, we had higher instances of that behavior. Basically, in group, we saw it stabilized the soonest, so the intervention was applied first for group activities, and then next we moved on to gym once that stabilized a little bit, and then we moved on to DTT, where once that stabilized a little, we moved on and implemented the intervention. So overall, we saw a decrease in the behaviors during intervention. In baseline, we had a daily high of 11, whereas during intervention, we had a high of 4. So because of that, I can say pretty confidently that it seemed that prompting, that functional communication, did help Gail in being able to reduce her flopping behavior. Hopefully this would be able to be applied to other children with autism, because as the results of this study show that at least for some children with autism, teaching them the ability to use functional communication has positive impacts on their ability to participate in various activities. One big limitation that I had for this study was the fact that I wasn't able to be there all the time, whether I had other duties to attend to or if I had another kid that I was providing services for, I couldn't be there all the time. So I had to rely a lot on my fellow RBTs to help me in implementing this intervention appropriately. So as a result, I necessarily didn't have the ability to correct any incorrect usages of the intervention when it occurred. So being able to have consistency in the data was a little bit of a hindrance. If I had to go back and do it all over again, I think one way that I would change that limitation and try to address it is to try and sit with each RBT at least once or twice just to see how they are implementing that intervention and make sure it's being carried out appropriately. Each time that flopping occurs, make sure that immediately the prompt is being given, and making sure as well that if she is asking for a break, that we're honoring it every time, making sure that she understands, like, oh, hey, if I just ask, I get it. I don't have to flop anymore. But anyways, thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation and view my project. Please leave a comment. Any feedback that you guys have about this study would be greatly appreciated and would certainly be something I would consider in the future if I did another study like this. Thank you.